What's happening, guys? Today I'm going to be answering one of the most common questions that new sellers pose, and that is, how do I come up with my brand name? And by the end of this session, you're going to know how to come up with your own brand name. I'm going to show you the tools, processes, and strategy behind why we use these. And you're going to come up with a brand name that, number one, you love, two, that you can apply to your products, three, that you can trademark, and of course use with brand registry. Step number one is come up with your brand name. Now, coming up with a brand name, you need to think about a few things. Number one, what are you going to be selling? And you need to keep that name applicable to whatever you sell. You don't want to have a name that is like Baby Pro and then you do pet products. Secondly, you need to think, is this trademarkable? Can I trademark it in the future? Because we want brand registry. And thirdly, you do also want to think about keeping it simple and easy to pronounce, something people are likely to remember and don't mind having on the product. Perhaps it even adds value by being on the product and it's aesthetically pleasing. So you can see these light suspension kits. This is a good example of perhaps a product you would find and begin selling. The problem is that we as sellers have a balance that we need to strike, or we need to choose to focus on either we will sell anything on Amazon, then we need a really open brand name, or we're creating a specific brand of products which are all going to be related, and that could have a very specific brand name that makes those products even more marketable and maybe describes those products a little bit. For most sellers though, and even some really successful sellers I've seen who do have a specific niche, they still have an open brand name. Remember, there's nothing wrong with having an arbitrary or fanciful name, which we're going to jump into, and then doing a really specific niche. Think about Apple. Apple, we all know the Apple company, but it doesn't actually describe the products. It's a bit of an arbitrary name. They use the word Apple in a really different sense, describing a really different thing to what an apple actually is. So you can do the same thing and keep it even more fanciful, or made up is what fanciful kind of refers to. So here's a couple examples. You can see this one here. The brand is Marquette Premium Hardware. Now they are very much keeping to hardware, industrial and scientific. That's their niche. It would be very difficult for them to put this brand name on baby products, for example, but perhaps they're doing the focus strategy. If we look at a different one, for example here, this brand name is Litcha. Litcha is a fanciful name. It's a made up brand name, and they could have Litcha kitchen products, Litcha industrial and scientific products, garden products. They could go into anything. And so you can see the benefit of having a fanciful name. And if we click in there, you can see the brand is Litcha over here. You can also see it's sold by Litcha. So not only are they using the Litcha brand name on their products, they also have that as their store name, and that is something I recommend. Similar, like you might see Nike products sold under the Nike store. It makes sense, adds credibility, and so your brand name is the one on the products and on your store. So how do you come up with this brand name, whether it's a fanciful and open made up name or a focus name? I recommend you use Namelix.com. I'll drop a link in the description, but all you do is come over here and then you have to drop in some type of starting term. So let's say your first name starts with a D, and maybe your business partner's name starts with an S. Just anything really. You just got to kick the process off here somehow. If you're doing a focus strategy, you could put, and you maybe you're doing pet products, you could put pet in here, etc. And I recommend fanciful names. That's the one I usually recommend to new sellers, because one, you might change niche a little bit later, and then all this work is not for nothing. You can always use that name. And two, it's more trademarkable. The more unique a name is, the more trademarkable it is, or the higher the likelihood your trademark will get processed successfully. Once you've done that, just click generate. Then you choose the length of names. I prefer shorter names. Then it's going to just generate here. And you can see it's loaded up some names. Now these are premium domains at the top. So these are often .coms and very expensive. So don't look at those, but you're looking at these lines. You can see here, alvana.net, and you can have a .net. .com is obviously a bit stronger, but there is nothing wrong with a .net either. In my opinion, having done this quite a few times, it's better that you have a brand name you love and go with a .net than go with a .com with a name you don't like as much, or which is not as strong. And that's just my opinion. After doing this multiple times, the brand name and how much you love that and how good that brand name is more important than it just ending with .com. A .net is really good as well. Remember, if you do really well with the brand, you can also purchase at the .com later. If it's a premium domain or if someone else holds it, you can also do that later if necessary. But .com or .net, both great. And so the point of this tool really is to come up with names. It's very difficult if you don't have some type of external way of generating names to get stuck in this little cycle in your head going through the same brand name. You can't get off this one name. Bruh. If you come in here, it's just going to give you so many different names that you're going to be able to choose from, often very strong ones as well. I find with a lot of sellers, they often feel like other people's brand names are good and theirs aren't. So if you feel that way, this could be a huge help to you as well. You can see Alvana here, Rosato, that's also quite strong. So just looking over these, I actually really like this one, Airvo. So let's use Airvo as our example today. We've just come up with the idea using Namelix. That's all you're using this site for. So now we know Airvo, A-E-R-V-O. And step number 2 is check domain and social availability. So here, I recommend you use name check like this without the E and C at the end, or you can use name checker without the last E. Either are good. And then you're going to simply put in that brand name that we found on Namelix. So we drop that in here and search. So you can see the domain name is actually a premium domain, the .com, at 26 grand. So that we are not going to be doing. But we have the .net, which is really good, and that could be absolutely fine. Then down here, you can also see the usernames or handles where you could get Airvo as well. And Facebook's actually available, so is YouTube. Twitter and Instagram are not. But in the case where this happens, don't not go with your brand name because of this. Because remember, you could also do Airvo brand or at Airvo products on these other sites as well. You can just adjust the handle. It's not as important as your brand name. And step number 3 is check the trademarkability. So you're going to come over to uspto.gov. If you're looking to sell products in the US, trademarks are region specific. They apply only to where you sell products, and a US trademark will only cover your products in the US. And the same applies to the UK. Then you would go to gov.uk and do the same process. And that again is only going to cover you for the UK. You also get EU-wide trademarks, European trademarks, but much more expensive. I recommend in the beginning, just choose a trademark for your starting region. So for the US, where many of you sell, come to uspto.gov, click on trademarks, and then you're going to do what's called a TESS search. You can see if we scroll down here, search TESS. We're going to click on that. And in here, we're going to do a basic word mark search. And then here, we're going to input that name, Airvo, just like that. And then we're going to say submit query. And now it's come up like this. So we can see there are a couple marks which could potentially be confusingly similar and be a problem with our registration of this mark. So we have to go look a little closer at these marks. Here you can see this one is dead, so that shouldn't be a big problem. Sometimes it can be, but it shouldn't be. This one is live though, so it's a little more concerning, and we're going to click on this. So here we can see the classes that they have registered these products for, class 2, 6, 11 and 16, and you can see it's aerosol sprays, spray paints, primers, so a lot to do with painting and this type of stuff. If you're going to be doing painting or anything in that area, this will be a big problem. As you can see, the name is not exactly the same because it has an E at the end, which ours does not. But this can still be a problem because when you pronounce them, they are pronounced exactly the same, and so it could be seen as confusingly similar, particularly if you're doing the same types of products. If you're not going to be doing any of these classes as they've listed here, then you should be good with this, but you do want to have a trademark attorney on your side just to double check this. Now, if you are worried about that trademark being too confusingly similar, or you do not want to pay for an attorney and you just want to try be as safe as possible by yourself, then what you can do is try a different name. So let's try Pizzori. Okay, we'll try this one. And we go to the same place, we're going to drop it in here and submit query. And you can see this time it's come up with no test records were found. This is the best case scenario. There was nothing found to be confusingly similar on the database. It's not 100%, but it gives you a very good idea. This is the best possible screen you can have at this time if you're not doing a trademark attorney, etc. So just something to note, and this is the process you want to follow. And step number 4 is get your domain name and your domain email. So now that your name has passed all the checks, what you want to do is get the domain name. That can be a .com, .net, etc. And you also want to get your business email, which is going to be your domain. Okay, so it's going to end with your domain. It could be help@airvo.net or support@airvo.net. And this is a common question as to how do I do that? What you need first of all is the domain. So you can use GoDaddy, you can also use Bluehost, or you could use Namecheap. All are used by many sellers, many people online, good services. Once you've chosen one, again, you're going to fill in your brand name here. So let's say we want airvo.net and search. And so we can see airvo.net's available for £12 here. So this is how you can get it. You could also check Bluehost, you can check Namecheap, but just keep in mind, whichever you choose, that is going to be your web host, probably for the long term. So choose one that you really like. Do look deeper into their services because you might end up with multiple brand names, and it's best just to have one web host. This is not the type of thing where you buy one here, one here, one here. Choose one service and stick to that. You're also going to get to know how to use it and how to generate emails off it, etc. So you don't want to be learning that 3 times over. Just choose one. Another thing to note, you can have 30 domain names with GoDaddy. You could have 50 domain names with GoDaddy. It has nothing to do with companies, etc. One company could have 50 domain names. That's just another question that does come up. So now that we see that's available, say you've signed up with GoDaddy, you would continue to cart and purchase that. Now you're going to have a GoDaddy account. You also have 24/7 support. If you need anything, reach out to them. They can help you because web hosting and stuff can be a little bit complex sometimes, but you should be absolutely fine. And so now you will have the airvo.net domain hosted in your GoDaddy account. And from here, what you can do is go into the C panel and set up a domain email. So you can have help@airvo.net. Another thing you can do is just contact them and ask them to set this up for you, and they should help you do that as well if you don't want to go into the C panel, etc. But YouTube is your friend. You should find a lot of help there in terms of setting it up. Now you have your domain email as well, and that domain email can also be used from Outlook or from Gmail, etc. You can link it to those inboxes, and you can use it from there as you do with your normal emails. So it makes it really easy. Now you have a professional email as well for the company. And step number 5 is set this as your Amazon store name. So you can see they have done this here with Litcher. The brand is here. It's also sold by Litcher. So they've made their store name Litcher. And you can do this too. You actually just set the store name in your Amazon Seller Central account. So you go settings, your account info, I believe, and then you can simply edit it at the top left. You'll see there your store name, and you can change it there, and you can also change it per marketplace. So in the US or Canada or Mexico, etc. Each can be different, but I would keep them uniform and to your specific brand name. If you cannot get the store name on Amazon, let's say it's taken, try it in uppercase or lowercase, because they are cap sensitive, the availability. So say Airvo is taken in lowercase, try it in uppercase, because it's likely available in uppercase then, and that way you make sure you do get your store name as well. And step number 6 is to create your logo. So here I recommend you use Looker.com. This was also known as LogoJoy a long time ago, but Looker.com. And here you can sign up for free and begin designing. So we're going to put Airvo in here, and let's make a logo. And here you need to put in something to do with your business. If you have a specific niche like pets or garden, you can put that in here. Otherwise, you can just choose something like e-commerce, etc. You can adapt this later, as you'll see. Then click continue and just choose 5 logos that you like the look of. Any 5, doesn't really matter, it's your preference. And once you've done that, click continue. Then choose the colors you like. Then you can also put in a slogan here. I'm not going to do that for now. And then you can choose specific type of symbols here if you wish, or you can skip this. I'm going to skip it. And so immediately you can see it's actually coming up with quite cool logo ideas for us. It's auto generating these. That's really cool. From here you can click on any of these and then edit them further by yourself. So say you like this one, you could click on it, and now we could actually edit this logo and change it up. Say you want to change that, you just click on the icon, and then you see it gives you suggestions of different icons over here. We can also change the color of that icon if we wish. The same applies to text. If we click on that, different style text down the left, which you can choose from. Additionally, if you just want to save this before you change anything, so you have multiple versions, you can just click here, make a copy. And there you go. You see it went to 2 here. So now that's in our saved logos, and we could literally change anything here and be able to come back to this base version. On the text and icon, you can also change the sizing of them over here if you want to make it bigger or smaller. Spacing you can change. You can also change the background. Click background here. And so in this way, you can just adapt it, change it to your preference, and you have a very good idea of how your brand name is going to look. It shows you it on business cards, apps, etc. throughout here, on the front of a store even, although we're mainly going to be online, on a t-shirt as well. But just gives you a good idea, which is key. You can then purchase this logo from this service as their kind of premium option. You purchase it from them with the source files, or what you can do is just screenshot this and take this concept, this idea, and give it to a professional to reproduce and create for you. So that's entirely up to you. If you do want to buy this one, you click on buy at the top right, and then you can choose here. And remember, it would just be like 20% more in dollars, but here it is £15 for the basic version. I don't recommend this one. £50 for premium. I do recommend this because you're going to get the high res files, and I believe you also get the source files, which is really important. You want the source file so you can adjust things later. And then enterprise, the only difference here is you also get a social media kit and business card designs. Business card designs, I don't know how much you're going to need that. Social media kits can be cool. This is like the banners for the top of your Facebook page or YouTube account, etc. But overall, this one in the middle is very good. Remember, the other thing you could do is simply screenshot this concept and then take it to a professional. For example, on Fiverr, there are some really, really good designers here. Here you can see a more premium option where the basics $80, standard is $160, and premium $300. But again, that premium is going to get you the source file, so you can adjust things later if needed. And here is a cheaper one where the premium's only $90, and again you will have source files. but they do an extremely good job. Great way to get your logo done, and specifically how to get your logo done the way you want. That's why I love Looker, is it allows you to really convey your concept and create a logo that you like. Not go and pay for a service like this where what you get back is not exactly what you wanted. Here you're able to outline your ideas before moving on to that step. But once you've done this, you now have your logo. And remember, you're going to have this logo in PNG format, all these different formats, so you can use them in different locations. For example, one place you're really going to need a high resolution logo for is in enhanced brand content. At the bottom of listings, just above or at the top section of A+ content, there's usually a nice place for your logo. You want a really high res image for there. So this is really going to come in handy all over the place, and of course on your products as well. This will be the logo that goes on your products. And lastly here, I really recommend this. You also get a version of the logo, like one image of it, with a little TM next to the name over here. That means trademark pending. So that's what you're going to use before your trademark is done and through. The second version I also think you want to ask them for is one with a little encircled R over here, which is registered trademark, and that's something you can use once your trademark is registered. That way you have the logo ready for every stage of your business as you progress, and you can adapt what specifically goes on the physical products and what shows up across your branding as you move through the trademark process. And step number 7 is really an optional one at this point, because you don't require a website for brand registry at this time, but you can create your website. You can do this on Wix or Shopify or WordPress, completely up to you. I do tend to recommend Shopify because it has a direct link with Amazon FBA. You can link it to Amazon FBA, so any customers who purchase on your Shopify store, their orders get fulfilled by Amazon FBA. So it's a really good way to do it. If you do have a WordPress website, you can also use a plugin called NSFBA or Never Settle FBA, and that will allow the link from WordPress to FBA. So the choice there is yours as well, but that is optional. The main thing with this video here was to get into how do you strategize and create that brand, and make sure you do it in a way that you can later leverage a trademark and brand registry. And this is a name you can grow with over time. But guys, enjoy this part of the process. This is a really fun and creative part of the process. And if this did help you, please hit that like button for me. Subscribe if you're not, and if you enjoy the content I put out here. And I hope that you're on to your next brand name. I'll see you guys in the next video.